Okay, welcome everyone to Artivism, the Power of Art for Social Transformation. We have Polly Ferman here today. She is presenting all the way from Spain. Our Artivism ambassador today is Raul Orlando Edwards. Featured on NBC Nightly News, Panamanian Jamaican artist Raul Orlando Edwards is the recipient of a Certificate of Congressional Recognition, Jefferson Award, 4 consecutive City of Houston mayoral recognition, and multiple honors. An artistic career that began over 25 years ago. He continues to use the arts to positively impact communities in and out of Houston. A highly creative individual, he sought to showcase the many influences that make up Latin American and Caribbean cultures, leading to the establishment of Flam Art, featuring Latin American music and art. In 2006, with a focus on cultural diversity and education through artistic programs. In 2008, the Foundation for Modern Music, FMM, invited him to join the organization as artistic director. In his first 2 years at FMM, he led the organization from local to internationally recognized, growing attendance from a few hundred to over 8,000. A collaboration between Strictly Street Salsa, Flam Art, and FMM launched Salsa y Salud, the country's first and biggest salsa health initiative in 2011. Navidad Latina, Museum of Fine Arts 2011, the Afro Latin Fest 2014, and others. His work has been featured in over 20 local and regional newspaper articles and over 35 appearances on TV and radio. He was a contributor in the research article Salsa, Saving Lives, Staying Active, to promote physical activity and healthy eating with the Texas Obesity Research Center, University of Houston, Department of Health Disparities Research, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and Strictly Street Salsa 2011. Civic and artistic engagements include the City of Houston, VH1's movie The Way She Moves, Houston Grand Opera, Consulates of Panama, Mexico, Israel, Egypt, and Italy, Houston Ballet, Society for the Performing Arts, Latin American Cultural Week in New York, Miller Outdoor Theater, Rothko Chapel, Rice University, Sam Houston State University, Texas A&M, San Francisco Rueda Festival, and others. He is currently engaged in building national collaborations while expanding existing programs that continue to improve communities in the greater Houston area and beyond. Welcome, Raul, our Artivism ambassador today. We can't wait to hear more from you.
Thank you so much for the welcome and for the invitation. And I would like just to add just a little bit because I think people can get an idea of the work that I do. After accomplishing a lot of these things, I realized that the power that the arts have is in transforming communities and people. And our vision, our mission is to start with the individual, which then will go into a group. That group will then build into a collective, and that collective can impact then a city, a state, a country, and the world. So that is our vision to change one person's life. We may not be able to change the world, but we will be able to change the world of a person. And I think at that point, our mission begins to grow, but also to have the goal that we have established it to have. So one of these collaborations and one of these expansions that I've had as an artist and as an individual came ironically by meeting Miss Polly Ferman back in 2016. So we have been working together since then. And in coming to New York, Miss Fredman's organization, which I will talk about in just a second, opened the door for me as an artist to come to New York and present that whole event that I was able to do as an artist had an incredible impact in my growth and opened up the vision of different things that now I can see how they are working, but also how they're manifesting in the society here in Houston, Texas. So I would like to say about now Polly. Polly is a cultural entrepreneur that She's the founder and the artistic director of Pan American Musical Art Research, PAMAR, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was founded back in 1984. Its mission was to promote awareness and appreciation for the cultures of Latin America. And that vision continues till today. In 2006, Ms. Ferdman founded the Latin American Cultural Week in New York City, the LACW, which is an annual event celebrating Latin American art forms. This event also serves as a platform for artists from around the world to have a performance in New York, surrounded and curated by artists of very high caliber. Ms. Ferdman established and she directs and performs in GlamourTango, El Tango Hecho Mujer, a unique all-female international multimedia music and dance show, the ultimate homage to women empowerment. And I've had the wonderful privilege and honor to bring Glamour Tango to Houston back in 2019 as part of the month of March celebrating Women's International Month. Today, Polly Ferman will share the importance of discovering our love for the arts and how to make it the soul of our life, to find the essence of generosity with our colleagues as opposed to competition. She intends to talk and share her long life experience in the arts and as a human being. I have the wonderful honor to introduce Polly, a friend, a colleague, and a wonderful human being. Polly, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to be here with all these friends. And I want to thank Argio Agelarakis, Carolina Campanero, Adelphis University Artivism for this opportunity, and Raul, of course, that you mentioned so many things that I am overwhelmed already, everything that I have done.
No, Carolina, no.
So
Oh.
today I'm going to talk about how I became an advocate for Latin American culture, its race, and gender equality. I'm going to start from the beginning. So what we're going to watch now is a demo of a project that I am working on that is called Mariposa. And it's not coming out.
Mariposa means
Anyway,
What does that mean?
butterfly.
Can you do it, Andrea?
So you can see it.
Okay.
Yep, hit that red button.
Okay. So otherwise, I will talk about it. Mariposa is something I always felt I was, because I always liked the independence of flying and the freedom. So it all started in, with the immigration of my family. I'm the first generation in Uruguay. My family came from what is today Ukraine. My parents, my grandparents, from both sides. At the beginning of the 20th century, there were many immigrants coming to Argentina and to Uruguay. Mine came to Uruguay. And there I was born. And this, what you're seeing now, besides the images of the immigration, is how I was born. And also 3 dancers. The little girl is me when I was young. And then, there is like the other one, the free one, and the other one who becomes a mother at a very young age. And how I was discovered, this suitcase is the one that will go with me all my life, not because of my music, but because I moved a lot from one place to the other. And that helped me have all the experiences that I have, which at the same time helped me understand what is needed when you are an artist. So the little girl with the xylophone at the end of this video, it's when I was 3 years old, they discovered that I had a good ear because at the school, the teacher gave me a xylophone, and that's how they discovered. So we go to the next step. When I was 7 years old, I gave my first concert, and it was a very special concert because, okay, it doesn't work, Andrea. It doesn't work. No. Okay, so here, this is, I was 7 years old. I gave this concert, and then, as you can see, there were many flowers that they sent me, and there was one branch that came exactly underneath my skirt. And I was going crazy because I wanted to scratch myself desperately. So this is the first time I discovered what visualization is. This is something I used many times in my life and has helped me. So my intuition told me I should visualize that this branch didn't exist, so that I could continue playing, and I took it out of my mind and I could continue playing. So many things happened after that. I was a pianist, and when I was 9, I won 2 international competitions. When I was 11, I played with the symphony orchestra in Uruguay. And as I was doing things fast, when I was 16, I married. I had, by 21, I had 3 children, and by 22, I was divorced. So I was divorced in a time where people did not divorce. It was a long time ago. And I had to leave the piano. I couldn't play the piano for 8 years. I moved to Argentina. I was working. I had like a normal job, but in my soul, I knew one day I will get back to the piano, because for me it was important. Although my family asked me to play the piano as part of education, they never thought music was going to be my profession. So many things happened, but they have to do with my life. So I'm not going to talk about my life. I'm going to talk connected to what I'm supposed to talk about. And in 1982, I decided I wanted to go to the States, to New York. And I not time yet, Andrea, take it out. Okay, here. In 1982, I went to the States, and everybody asked me, not everybody, but people who I met asked me where I was from, and I said I'm from Uruguay, and they didn't know where it was. So I decided I'm going to change my repertoire from classical repertoire to Latin American repertoire. Okay, I was already like 2 or 3 years. I was back to piano. I was back to Uruguay. I was back to piano. So when I went to New York, I decided to do that of the Latin American music. They were telling me that I was jeopardizing my career. Who's going to believe in Latin American composers? And but when I have an intuition, and when I have something that I know I have to do, I decided I will go for it, and I will go for it. So I started researching composers from Latin America, mainly those that beginning of the 20th century, they studied in Europe, and they went back to their countries, and they took the folklore of their, so this became my repertoire. It was so difficult at that time that even, they wanted me to play in Argentina and Uruguay, but they said, if you don't play the Latin American repertoire, I said, okay, I don't play. And for many, many years, I didn't go to Uruguay or Argentina because they didn't accept what I was doing. So I played in New York, and people liked it very much because I was explaining, where the music was from. So one day somebody tells me, why don't you create a non-profit organization? I said, I have no money. Said, but what you need to do is to create to have a board of directors. So socially, I had met some very nice people that were, involved with the New York cultural scene. I approached them and I said, would you mind lending me your names? I'm not going to ask you for money. So they did that. I got a pro bono lawyer, a pro bono accountant. And in 1994, then I create PAMAR. Now, yes, Andrea, this is what I created, celebrating the culture of America, Pan American Musical Art Research. Next year, we are celebrating years. So what I did during PAMAR, it was that when I did concerts, I separated part of what I was paid, and I was paying artists that I was very selective. I have always been very selective with who presenting at PAMAR because I never wanted to show the folklore because the folklore or the popular doesn't need me. What I wanted to showcase, it was what is not so popular. So those artists, I said, I can, pay you something, I can get you a theater, but you have to include your repertoire Latin American music. So some of them, can imagine 40 years ago, they became very famous, not because I presented them, but because they were very talented. So 1989, 5 years later, I moved to Japan. I married a diplomat and moved to Japan. And I continued playing. It was very nice because, I had both sides of the world. I had the perfect excuse when I didn't want to go somewhere to say I have to practice. And but I realized that in the streets, I didn't see, it was prepared for wheelchairs, it was prepared for the sight impaired, but I never saw anybody with disabilities. And I found it's very, very strange. I started asking and nobody told me anything. So one day, it was in 1997, I went to a concert and saw that the whole main floor was full of wheelchairs. So I said, well, what is this? And they told me, well, there is a prince that is the cousin of the emperor that you are not going to meet socially, but he's the mentor of many institutions for the handicap. I said, well, I have to reach him. So I asked somebody at the embassy to call and to please contact and say I would like to go and play for the institutions, and nothing, no answer. And I said, no, it's impossible. I will call. So I called myself and talked to the secretary of the prince. I said, I am interested in playing my Latin American music in institutions. So he said, okay, I will let the prince know. So the prince calls me back and he says, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yes, of course. Why? He says, because I'm very selfish, because I know that what I'm going to get is much more than what I'm going to give. So he organizes a tour, Andrea, a tour in Japan. I went 5 weeks, 25 institutions. It was the most incredible experience I had as an artist. I went with the prince, and some of the opportunities were the leprosariums. I went with the wife, the princess, and of course they were in the middle of they were in islands separated from Japan main place, and they had no piano. They never had anybody live play for them. So the Yamaha Foundation flew pianos for me everywhere. And it was the most incredible experience I ever, this is the prince, the one with the white jacket. He passed away some time ago. But I learned to speak Japanese. It's not that I can give a conference, but he told me, you have to communicate. You have to hold their hands. You have to look at their eyes. You have to ask them, how do they feel? What are they doing there if they're happy? It was so moving that the prince gave me as a present a documentary that he did like an hour, and it took me 10 years to watch it. I was not able, I didn't dare to watch it because it was too strong as an experience. Now, I go back to Argentina. That's where I was when I went to Japan. And a year and a half later, I am back in New York. No husband, but a piano. My piano went with me. And there I see Pamar. So many years have passed. And Pamar was floating in the ocean. It was not swimming. It was not going anywhere. So I said, what should I do? I let it go, because it was like starting from the beginning. Because some grants that I receive, if you don't apply every year, you have to start from scratch. So I had to start from scratch. So some years passed, and I said, I'm not going to let it go. And I started looking around, and I realized that there were many festivals in New York, like the Mexican festival, the Chinese festival, but we Latin Americans always, each one doing their own thing. I said, I have to do a Latin American festival. And how do I do it? I have no money. Hold on, Andrea. I have no money. So I went to, I searched who was doing Latin American culture, and I realized Sotheby's Christie's, they have an auction, a Latin American auction every year. I realized that there were Repertorio Español doing Latin American theater and all that. So I went to talk to all of them, and I said, if I would do a Latin American festival, would you be interested in participating? And they said yes. So because Sotheby's and Christie's were the main presenters of Latin American art, in November, I said, I'm going to do it in November. No money, again, nothing. A friend's daughter designed a logo, and this is what I'm going to see now, Andrea. Now we are going to talk about the Latin American Culture Week in New York, which I created in 2006. At this time, until today, we are presenting every year in November artists that sometimes they feel so motivated to have a New York City debut that they find the money to buy the flight, because we cannot afford the flight, we cannot afford the rooms in the hotels, but we give them theaters. Sometimes we give some money, not a lot, but we give them some money. We got some grants even from the government. When Bloomberg was the mayor, he gave us some recognition. And this is the project that, we have been doing since 2006, when we had the pandemic in 2020. We had it virtual, and we had more than 47 different groups from different parts of the world participating. And I want to thank Andrea, who is now helping me with this. She has been helping me with Pamar for many, many years, and also with all my music, graphics, and social media and all that. So we stop here, and I want to show you some of the past and present. I mean, you won't be able to look at everything, but we have presented thousands of artists. We have given first opportunity to many, and I hope that Pamar and Latin American Week can survive me. This is what I was always looking for, a survival for these projects. But because you don't make money, because nobody gets paid, it has been very difficult. But now I'm very happy because I have Rodolfo Zanetti, who is a musician, and he's the president. I have Raul, who is the executive director. I'm the artistic director, still doing that. Okay, now, stop me if I'm talking too much. I don't know how much time has passed. Okay, I have some time. But something very important happened when I went back to New York personally, because I met one person that has been with me, or have been with him for the last 23 years. His name is Daniel Vinelli, and here you see he's an Argentine composer, arranger, bandoneon is a music director, my teacher, fourth and final husband. So very entitled to laugh. So what happened? I met him because he approached me and he said he would like me to be the pianist for his quintet. And I said, I don't know how to play tango. He said, oh, you will learn. So the first thing I do is a tour in Europe in 3 months touring. And I was so spoiled being a soloist that I said, yes, I will go, but I need a grand piano. So it was a company with music and dancers and everything, and my piano was half of the stage. Everybody hated me so much. And then I realized, well, maybe I'm asking something that I shouldn't. And in life, you start learning so many things that you do for your ego. And learning how to get away from your ego is so healthy and it's so wonderful. So I continued with them. But you know, it was not easy because it's like if you need to do the exam for your PhD and you didn't go through secondary school, okay, I didn't know anything. And it's very different to play tango than to play classical or Latin American music. But I realized something. I started looking back and I saw, where are the women in tango? Well, you know, they're dancers, they dance with men. I tried dancing. I didn't like dancing because the man tells you, when you don't know how to dance, they tell you what to do. And I never liked being told what to do, not even in tango. So then, you know, musicians, if you look back, there's only now there are musicians, but they were not musicians. There were some singers. Some of the composers that were women, they had to change their names to a man so that they would play and sing their music. So there I said, Polly, you have to do something about it. So I had an urge to do a show that will not have any men. And I had the opportunity because my daughter told me in 2008, her grandfather was celebrating, I mean, the company that her grandfather was created was celebrating 80th anniversary. So she told me, what would you like to do? And I said, I would like to create a women's tango company. She said, do it. And that's how GlamourTango, a celebration of women in tango, it's born. It's a multimedia music and dance show. Since 2008, we have been going different parts of the world. I have at this moment 3 companies based, one in Buenos Aires, one in New York, and one in Spain. And I'm very happy because having this company not only helps me give the opportunity to showcase that women, we can do anything. We can do anything. And even in a style that women didn't have a protagonic role, this is my homage to women. And the incredible thing is that I thought about it before they were talking about the women empowerment. I felt my empowerment was to do this, and touring with these women is fantastic because it's like a family, and there are no egos, luckily, and everything is a wonderful experience. So this is what I have done, and I would like now to wrap up a little bit about what I feel I have done, and I would like to thank my family, my 3 children, my 10 grandchildren, and my 1 great-grandchild, for everybody being so supportive, for understanding that their mother, their grandmother, the great-grandmother is not a typical one. And I'm so grateful because they allowed me to fly and to be a butterfly. I am so grateful for the difficulties that I encountered because it helped me grow from there and become stronger each time. I grateful also to my intuition because every time I felt I had to do something, it was right. And I want to thank you all for having the patience of listening to my story. Thank you so much.
And Polly, that was amazing, but we would like to know a little bit more. So, having met you personally and been involved in the organization for now going on a few years, what do you think your example can do for today's women musicians? What word of advice would you give them based on your experience in how to achieve their goals and their dreams in a field that is so predominantly male dominated? How would you able to navigate that and have success?
I would tell them that they can do anything they want, that if they are good musicians, they deserve to have the same space that if they wouldn't be women. I mean, for me, is so clear that don't be shy. And one thing that I do, I didn't talk about it, but is I do something that is called the piano and the emotions. And I would suggest these women musicians, they don't need to be pianists, that when they play, when they practice, and when they perform, they put into their music their love, their if they're angry, and to be able to express their feelings and their emotions through the music, because that helps a lot, not only to get out of the situation that is bothering you, but it helps you to play better. Because playing an instrument or singing or any art, it's not about the technique. It's not about how well, how fast you move your finger. It's about who do you touch, who you reach. When I know that people tell me after I play that they wanted to cry, I know that I play well.
Mm.
So this is my, and I would like now, Andrea, to put, I have two posters that I would like to share. This one is my Glamour Tango having this Saturday here in Valencia. I know that you won't be able to come. But the next one is a concert that I'm going to give in New York, March 23. So if you are in New York or know people in New York, and if you want to attend, I will be playing this Latin American music that I told you about. And I hope that I can make you cry of emotion. So I look forward to seeing you there.
And Polly, on that note, as we're celebrating Pamar's 40th anniversary, in that journey that you have had in those 40 years, let's say if you can find one or two things for people that might be now leading an organization or thinking of an organization in the arts and looking at the artivism of it, what would you say to them when challenging situations show up? How did you manage and overcome those?
Well, it's very easy when you have money, but when you don't have money, it's not easy because then you need to use your creativity. And this is what I did because I never had money to create anything. When I looked for the board, I said, I'm not going to ask you for money. When I looked for the institutions to do the Latin American Week, I didn't ask for the money. But if you have a project that is interesting, then you can show it first, and make it interesting for people. And nowadays it's easier because you have social media, so you have ways of showcasing. In my time, no social media, nothing. So you have to prove by doing. And I would say that if they have a project that their intuition tells them is a good project, go for it. Go for it. Because then you will find, your intuition will also tell you where to go to find the economical resources, apply for grants, or have rich friends. I don't know how to do that. But I see that there are many very interesting projects, that go beyond what I'm doing, and they go to help socially people. And all these projects that we think that they are only for culture, they go beyond. They go for culture. They go for people who have psychological problems, and like you did the Salud and Salud. I think this is a fantastic project. So health is very important, and our mental health is very important, and because our mental health is getting into our body. So if you keep optimistic, which is what I think I am, because otherwise I wouldn't have done anything, because every time I had a problem, I said, oh, wonderful. This is an opportunity to learn. This is an opportunity to do something better. And so, don't get disappointed if something doesn't go well, because it will. Maybe you have to do something different. So it's a learning process, life.
And Polly, the experience that you shared with us when you were in Japan, do you think that experience shaped the way you look at people through the arts? And I'm going to say this one: when I first met you, I met Polly. For those of you who don't know the story, this musician Eddie Marcano, who is a friend of Polly, and I had met here in Houston. He said, "Oh, you have to meet Polly. You have to meet Polly. She's doing the same thing you're doing in Houston, but in New York." And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'll meet Polly." I was like, I have too many things to do, and Eddie took the phone. He called Polly, and he said, Polly, Raul is here," and he just hands me the phone. And I was like, hi, what is your name again? He said, Polly. I said, hi, Polly. This is Raul. And one of the things that really struck me from you, Polly, that really created an amazing impression. When I talked to you, it so happened that I was going to be in New York a few days after that conversation. And Polly said to me, oh, it'd be great to meet you. On the last day before coming back to Houston, Polly said, why don't you come to my apartment and have breakfast with me? And I said, sure. So I showed up. And I have to tell you, when I left your apartment, Polly, it was such an amazing sensation of warmth, love, and care that I received from you. She made breakfast, we ate, I rushed back to the apartment, picked up my stuff, and left to the airport. And then when I called her back, I say, hey, Eddie, I was so struck by Polly's attitude. And I said, hey, Eddie, do you think she will be open if I were to present something in New York? And he said, of course she will. And Eddie's like that. Eddie's always like high energy. And then I call Polly and I say, hey, Polly, I talked to Eddie, and Eddie says that he could play with me in New York. Oh, Polly, of course, let me find you a date. Let me find you a theater. And I was thinking, like, what's wrong with this lady? She hasn't even asked me for a demo, for a video, for an MP3. And then lo and behold, I was part of the festival, my first performance in New York. It
That's a
was an absolutely life-changing performance. And so when I look back at that and I see, so, and that's why I'm asking you the question, was that experience in Japan like the point, the turning point in how you saw what the arts could do in the life of people?
yeah, because for me, my projects are human projects. This is not only the art, for me, is the connection with the history of each one, the struggles, and many times, I give them an advice. Like, for instance, I think that artists should find something they do special, different than the others. And sometimes I have told them, how to dress. So, this is, for me, it's not only a matter of having an organization. And, actually, this is the first time I'm talking about what I'm talking today. Is the first time I'm doing, because I never thought that what I was doing merited that I talk about. I just did it.
And another a follow-up question on that, as an artist myself and having been through training and all the training that we go through as artists, uh, I'm wondering if your ability to continue to connect with people, as we see today's artists, where the technique, and I know you mentioned a little bit about that before, where there seems to be so much emphasis on being perfect that artists forget about being human.
Exactly. Exactly. And this happens in every field, everywhere, even if you're not an artist. I think the human being of today, there is so much competition, there is so much people watching what you do, where you post your, Facebook or this, you have to do it perfectly. And we are becoming like automats, like robots, it's something that it's hard to express ourselves. No, I hope people can express themselves with their friends and with their families. And something I realized when I lived in New York is that dancing tango helped a lot people to communicate, because before, at the beginning, the first time I was in New York, people gather in bars, to meet somebody. You go to the bar, you drink something, and you meet. But we miss hugging, and when you go and dance tango, you are next to somebody's heart. You are hugging somebody, you are approaching somebody. And this human part, it's very good for the artist, because otherwise we're not a good artist.
Get the
But
camera
also
working.
everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, there is a question, Mr. Baraka.
Yeah.
You are muted. There we go.
Now, hi. Listen, my wife Judy and I love Polly and Danielle. I have to salute Danielle for being the final husband for this force of nature. Really, I couldn't.
Here we see the concert in midnight, so.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it. We've known Polly for what, 20, 25 years, and we're definitely going to come see you in, later in March because we're in New York. And actually, I'm trying to talk my wife Judy into moving to Valencia, but that's another story. We'll see what happens.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
This was a wonderful, wonderful, really, and moving. I'm brought to tears.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. And Polly, I'm going to throw at you kind of the final question now from the perspective of age, where, for example, a lot of these projects that you started, you were not in your 20s or in your 30s. And sometimes when people get passing certain age, I'm going to use the age of the agents, where an agency will say to you, "Oh, you're over 25, so you're too old. We can even consider you as an artist in our roster." What would you say to someone who is listening today or might be watching this video later?
Okay, thank you for bringing it, because I like to say my age. And by next year, when PAMAR will celebrate the Latin American Culture Week in November, I will be 80.
80.
80.
I forgot. I thought you were going to be like 74, 73. 80.
Because I will be 79, 21 of October this year, I will be in Bulgaria playing. But next year, 21st of October, I will be 80. So the celebration is 80 of Polly, 40 of Pamar.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And what would you say to someone? Because everybody says you're never too old, and it has become such a cliche. But what piece of advice would you? Something that you can tell someone? Hey, if you're feeling this old, this is what I did, and look at what I was able to accomplish. If you were to summarize that in one statement, or how many words you want to use?
What I summarize about what I have done is that I'm happy that I'm still doing.
Okay. So we could say
active. I'm still active. I'm still giving concerts in different parts of the world. I am still connected and trying, to have shows with my women and with my husband and without my husband and Pamar and the Latin American Gacha Week, and I cook. I love cooking, and my husband eats a lot. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When he's not here, I have vacation. But Raul, you like cooking too, and you are a great chef. You have been in television with your cooking.
Well, thank you. And I'm looking forward to go to Valencia to have dinner with you. We might be able to cook together.
Yeah. Well, for the Latin American Gacha Week celebration, 40 years, we have to put gastronomy because this is culture also.
Mm-hmm. And then, Paul, if I could say to all the people that are in New York, definitely, if you can join Polly, but also we will be reaching out to you, or just join the list, where if you are looking for a place to volunteer or an organization to support, definitely your help is needed. Polly, is there anything else you would like to say to leave us with?
I would like to say that anybody attending or anybody attending who would know anybody who would be interested in supporting us, working with us, or knows about a grant that we may apply to, or somebody very rich who likes to help organizations that are small but active for so long, please keep in touch. if you don't mind leaving in the chat your email, because we don't have your email addresses, and that's it. You know, we need help. We need help because the three of us, you know, Raul is in Houston, Rodolfo is teaching and performing in New York. I am in Valencia. So we need help. We need help. We need to create a, you know, a group of people who share our vision and help us continue.
Well, Polly, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your talent, your wisdom, your passion with us today. It really has been, even though I've known you for 5 years or so, every time I speak with you and I talk with you, I learn something new from you as a human being, but also as an artist. And being an artist myself, those experiences that you share also affect and have a great impact on me in how I too can follow your footsteps in impacting people that come to performances. So thank you very, very much. If anyone in the audience has a question that perhaps they would like to ask Polly, feel free to type it in the chat or raise your hand, and that way we can get take advantage of this wonderful experience that we are having with Polly Ferman today. In the meantime, while that happens, I would like just to let you know that tomorrow, March 7th, at Adelphi University Garden City campus in New York, the Adelphi Artivism and Criminal Justice Clubs will be hosting the tie-dye event. Participants will be making wearable art that will be worn for the Artivism Initiative fashion show, which will also be co-hosted by Artivism and Criminal Justice Clubs. And then the next Monday, Monday the 13th, is the Festival of Cinema in New York City. And the topic or title is Creating a World-Class Film Festival to Inspire Social Transformation. For more information on this and all series, past and upcoming events, please go to the website, https or www.adelphi.edu/artivism, or follow the organization on Facebook, Instagram at Artivism for shared humanity. Again, that's Artivism for shared, the number 4 for shared humanity, or simply Google Artivism and Adelphi. Our YouTube channel is Artivism, the number 4 for shared humanity. And as a reminder, the Artivism Wearable Art Fashion Show and Expo is coming this April 2023. And to participate, please contact the Artivism team at artivism@adelphi.edu. Finally, also, if you would like to get more involved in this ongoing initiative, please contact the Artivism team. I would now like to ask if there are any questions, again, second question, and you raise your hand or just type it in the Zoom before we reach to the end of today's presentation.
I would like to take a second, Ms. Ferman, to thank you for this incredible presentation and the honor of having you share, like you said, this debut of information, right? Of sharing part of your soul with us here in Artivism today. I also would like to thank Ms. Nalerio for her excellent work, visual complementing of your story. And a shout out to Mr. Baraka for having introduced us some time back. It's been a pleasure knowing you this time, and an honor to be having this conversation. Thank you for the audience members as well. From that, I will also like to expand and say thank you for the work that you're doing in providing these opportunities through PAMAR for the Latin American community of musicians. Because as you say, you know, folkloric music already has its place, but we need to further, right, our culture, our heritage, our passion for life and music through all the other genres. So I thank you as well for being part of that kind of like mindset change and pushing Latin America forward. Professor R, did you have any questions today?
Oh, I wanted to first also thank Polly Ferman. I mean, this was truly an inspirational flight. You do not look 80. I believe you look as young as you feel, right? It comes out. And yeah, never give up. I mean, I was told the same thing. You know, I think I was like maybe in my 50s or 40s, and I was told, well, you know, you're too old to be an artist. You know, no gallery will represent you. Well, you know what? If you're not going to find a gallery to represent you, do it yourself, right? Represent yourself. Never, ever, ever give up, no matter how old you are. And I can so relate because I have children and I have grandchildren, and I'm not the typical yaya, which in Greek is, in Greek is grandma. And I do hear that a lot. Oh, in form of complaints sometimes too, that I'm not the typical grandmother, but we just keep on going. Thank you, Raul. Thank you so much for really taking charge today, and everything you've had to say and ask of Polly. We could not have done it better ourselves. Other than my comments, I don't have any questions. I will say that the most inspiring thing for me that really did bring me to tears was the video of those individuals in Japan, the ones you played music to. That's probably the most inspiring, and for me, the best thing. Probably one of the most memorable and best things you've probably ever done was that joy you brought this group of people that would never have had that opportunity if it wasn't for you. And you have their blessing, right? Their blessing, their family's blessing. And that's what I believe is what propelled you forward, right? Is that happiness, that pleasure you brought these people paved the way for everything else. So thank you.
Thank you for your words. Thank you so much.
I will have to echo Professor RG on that component of your generosity, Ms. Ferman, because likewise here, as Mr. Edwards was mentioning earlier, since I've been in communication with you, you've always been very approachable, very kind and gentle, and kind of like emanating that want of progressing and pushing everyone, like as they say, once we get to a certain level, the point is to bring others up, right? And bring and raise people. And that's what you're doing. I do hope that you continue with this and that your legacy will be, carry on by so many others. Here in Artivism, we also have a tradition before closing the event for the day of asking our presenter about one key takeaway for today. If you were to just leave us with one action takeaway of art as a power for transforming society, what would that be?
Hello?
Polly, I think that question is for you.
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure, no. What will be one key action point that you would like to leave us today after experiencing this inspirational flight with you? One action point about the power of art for transforming society.
I think that art is absolutely transforming. If I wouldn't have been a pianist, or if I wouldn't have started that young to understand that music was for me, I wouldn't have done what I have. All projects, music, I did so many things in my life. I tried to make my mother happy because she wanted me to marry a blue Príncipe Azul, So I made one mistake after the other until I found my truth, which is music, which is Daniel Vinelli. So what I have to say is that art transforms you. If you have art, you're already transformed. But if you project your art, you can transform others.
Profound.
Very beautiful. Any other questions or comments?
Me?
Anyone before we close?
Okay,
I think
Nora.
Miss Olga, Miss Reyes, did you want to say
Yes.
something? Yes.
Yes, I would like to say something. It's not really a question, it's just a commentary. I'm only 81 years old, and I have known Polly for, we would say, more than 50, 55 years, and we have had a lot of things together in our lives, and I have followed her career, but there are two things that she doesn't say, and I think all of you who know her. First of all, she's the most generous person that you can imagine. She gives herself out to everyone. Her time, which is the most valuable thing for everyone, she's always trying to help and to support anyone who needs it. She's so generous and so humble. So she's a beautiful person, a beautiful human being, and we're always looking forward her new project. So we'll just continue the way you are.
Thank you, Graciela. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
We have one day we have to do one project, one of these just to tell anecdotes. That would be fun.
And Ms. Nora, you had something?
As an Argentinian, as a woman, I feel very proud of what Polly has done with GlamourTango, bringing up women, showcasing women, dancers, musicians. And I attended many of her concerts around the world, and they are electrifying. And just to have to see in a very male-dominated tango world, to see these women, young women, playing the bandoneon, the cello, the violin, the dancers, the choreographers, the singers, they're all young. And so she's bringing a new generation of performers, women, and I have chills saying that. Thank you, Polly.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. Hope to see you at Artivism again. Thank you, Carolina, Dr. Stephanie Lake, Gottesman Libraries, Teachers College, Columbia University. Our sponsor is also Sync for Hope. Hope to see you here again soon. Carolina, did you want to say anything before we sign off?
Muchas bendiciones y adelante. Continúe con ese legado y como dijo la señora Nora, a inspirar a las mujeres y las futuras generaciones. Un honor y un placer haber compartido este tiempo con usted y muy tocada de que verdad nos haya permitido este espacio en su agenda y en su tiempo y con sus amigos y colegas.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Artio.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, Polly. All the way from
Bye.
Spain. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Raul. Thank you.
My
Bye.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.